cracking, everybody? Welcome to Boo TV. While you're here, do me a big favor and like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you stay notified whenever we upload a new video. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you for watching. Thanks for the support, and let's get into the topic for today. Recently, we saw two very high-scoring affairs on the same day in the association. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Detroit Pistons 150 to 130 in regulation, and the Trailblazers beat the San Antonio Spurs 147 to 127 in regulation. All right. Some people like to call me a hater, this, that, and the third, when I basically say that it's much easier to score in this NBA when I see all the high scoring performances by individual players and overall scoring by the individual teams. But that is not the case. I'm not a hater. I love the NBA. I've always loved the NBA. Is this my favorite era of the NBA? No, this is not my favorite era. I like the era in which teams were more physical and you were allowed to play defense. I thought it was more fun to watch, allowing these teams to actually compete. But I still love the NBA. I just understand that is a very different league as compared to 15 to 20 years ago plus. And I have to put everything in context when I consider looking at numbers, which are much more inflated now than many of the past eras, right? So, with that being said, and sometime in the early to mid 2000s, they started probably more so the mid 2000s, is when they really started implementing these rule changes to promote more scoring and easier scoring for teams and players, because the NBA did not like the product that they were putting out. The average teams were scoring somewhere to the mid to high 90s, and not many teams were able to breach 100 points per game for an average. And the NBA wanted to put out a different product that looked more beautiful, that was more aesthetic, which promoted the basketball going inside the hoop more, and getting more free throws and things of that nature. So they really started changing the rules to make it harder on defenses to actually defend, and making it easier for scorers and teams to put the ball in the basket. Now you accompany the rule changes with the new style of play that seemingly every team has adopted, and that high pace, lots of shot attempts, early shot clock attempts, and a barrage of three-pointers. All right, you take the high tempo, the high pace, the high possession league that we have today with all the three-point shooting, and you accompany that with the rule changes. This is the league we have now. It seems like every other day somebody's scoring 45 to 50 points, and these teams are logging high number games on a regular basis. And I think it's only a amount of time before we see a team score 200 points in the NBA. 1 to 5 years, I really feel like it's going to happen. Albeit overtime, albeit regulation, I don't know, but we're definitely, I definitely think it's coming, given the trend of scoring outputs we are seeing on a day-to-day basis. When you look back at the history of the league, like 150 points isn't even the highest that we've had in the last 20 years. If you go back in the league history, there has been extremely high-scoring outputs. Some of them double, triple, quadruple overtime. That's more understandable. But there has even been extremely high-scoring performances in regulation. But largely, these are anomalies. When you go down and look at the numbers and look at the games, these weren't all occurring, in the same season or even within 2 years of one another. A lot of these games have 5 to 10 to 15 years of separation, so they were more or less anomalies and weren't the norm on a day-to-day basis. So actually, the highest scoring game of all time was in triple overtime. Detroit Pistons versus Denver Nuggets. Detroit put up 186 points to the Denver Nuggets 184 points. But that was triple overtime. That was in 1983, 1984. I want to say in regulation, the highest scoring game in NBA history was the Phoenix Suns 173 took down the Denver Nuggets 143, and that was in 1990, 1991. So you can see just between those two games there's there's some decent separation. All right. Just going down the line, so you get an idea. In 1958, the Boston Celtics put up 173 compared to the 139 by the Minneapolis Lakers. 1981, the San Antonio Spurs put up 171 against the Milwaukee Bucks, who put up 166, but that was triple overtime. 1961, you have a Philadelphia Warriors, golly, get that, versus the New York Knicks, 169 to 147. In 2018, 2019, in a quadruple overtime game, Chicago Bulls put up 168 points, the Atlanta Hawks 161. 2007, 2008, golly, this was in regulation. The Denver Nuggets kicked the ass of the Seattle Supersonics, 168 in 4 quarters to 116. 1981, you had a triple overtime game, Spurs versus Milwaukee Bucks, 171 to 166. Get this one. 1969, Cincinnati Royals versus the San Diego Rockets, 165 to 151. But you can see these are anomalies. These aren't occurrences that are all happening in the same season per se. And the list goes on. There's quite a bit of high scoring performances up to 150 plus points. But this is over a span of 70 years or so. I mean, this goes back. So the difference between all those statistics and what I'm talking about now is the fact that now these high scoring performances, like I said, are all happening in the same season. Now we're not surprised. It's not a big deal. You see a team put up 140, 150 points. It's becoming the norm. It's becoming regular. And there's only going to be only a matter of time before the team gets really, really hot and starts tampering with that 200 number. And it may take a few overtimes, and I wouldn't even be surprised if it happened in regulation. I mean, I've seen, even this season, I've seen teams put up, somewhere between 70 to 90 plus points by halftime, something like that. There's been a couple games like that where teams scored enough in one half to suffice for an entire 4 quarters for competing eras. You know what I mean? It's absolutely nuts, but I really think that's the way the NBA is going, and I think we're going to see a 200-point game not too far in the distance. Not too far in the distance, but not me hating at all. It's just the reality of the situation. It's a totally different league that caters to the offensive players and promotes them and encourages them and makes it easier for them to get their buckets and pace of play, tempo, possessions, so many more possessions, as compared to the muck it up days. Get physical, get strong, get big. Back then you had NBA All-Stars, making All-Star games solely because of their defense. You don't really see that anymore. And when these players would get into the All-Star games, they're out there trying to block shots all day long. Nothing was really coming easy. That is not the case now, right? Totally different league. Totally different eras, man. That's all I got to say about it. Let me know if you agree or do you disagree. Do you agree with my logic? I feel like I'm being pretty fair and pointing out the facts, but let me know if you agree or disagree. I would love to hear your opinion. What do you think? Do you think we will see a team score 200 points within the next 1 to 5 years? Or do you even think it's possible? Period. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.